Now, in most cases, flying on a regional jet, especially 50-seat aircraft like the CRJ200, has never been considered glamorous or even comfortable. But the focus of today's video is an aircraft meant to serve as a breath of fresh air in the 50-seat market, none other than the Bombardier CRJ550. Having heard so many great things about this plane over the years, I finally got the chance to fly it for the first time on a recent trip to New York. Now, given the flights I took on board the 550 were too short to warrant individual videos, I'm combining both into one. So first, we'll fly from Peoria, Illinois to Chicago O'Hare, and then back to Peoria a week later. With that said, let's get to the airport and finally see what all the CRJ550 hype is all about. Good morning from Peoria International Airport. It's just after 5 a.m. during the prime December holiday rush season, and with that being said, parking was an absolute monstrosity. I've never seen it this busy. The entire main lot was full, and then the entire overflow lot was also full. Thankfully, multiple additional overflow spots were added near the employee parking lot area, and even still, many passengers were parking their cars on the grass and gravel areas. I managed to eventually find a decent spot, and after catching the shuttle to the terminal, cleared security in 2 minutes, with still around 40 minutes until boarding. Now, the CRJ550 is not a brand new clean sheet aircraft in terms of airframe. On the outside, it looks just like a CRJ700 because physically they're the exact same aircraft, and all 550s were initially built as CRJ700s. However, instead of having 70 or so seats like a normal CRJ700, the 550 is configured with just 50. But what's the point behind all of this? Yes, getting a wonderful premium low-density alternative to the dreadful CRJ200 is one thing, but the actual reasoning behind reconfigured regional jets like the CRJ550 and previously the CRJ440 and CRJ705 comes down to scope clauses. The whole story behind scope clauses goes beyond the limits of this video, but to put it simply, a scope clause limits the number and size of aircraft that can be flown by the regional subsidiaries of a major airline. As you can see by this table, scope clause limitations vary by airline, but for United specifically, its 5 regional affiliates are limited to 255 aircraft in total, with 51 to 76 seats, and they can't have more than 153 76-seat aircraft. To abide by these restrictions, most of United's Embraer 175s operate with 76 seats, but they also have a bunch with just 70 seats. And with more 175s on the way, United Express had to do something with its existing 70-seat CRJ700s to ensure it didn't exceed the 255 aircraft limit. Thankfully, the United scope clauses are very generous for 50-seat aircraft, and even more so for American Airlines. But for United Express, the number of 50-seat jets it can operate can be up to 90% of the mainline single-aisle fleet. As of February 2026, United's current single-aisle fleet sits at 844 aircraft, meaning theoretically United Express could operate just under 760 50-seat regional jets according to their scope clause. Of course, that's an insane amount, and United Express will never need that many planes, but that basically means it can operate as many 50-seat jets as it pleases. Hence, by converting 70-seat CRJ700s into 50-seat CRJ550s, United Express can not only satisfy scope clause restrictions, but also its passengers by offering a premium product in the 50-seat aircraft market that overshadows that of the dreaded CRJ200s. Putting just 50 seats in an aircraft originally built for 70 means that United Express had a lot of space to work with. As such, the CRJ550 has 10 first-class seats compared to just 6 on a standard CRJ700. There are 40 economy seats with 20 designated as Economy Plus. But that's not all. The CRJ550 also features a snack bar for first class, which I didn't get any shots of unfortunately, along with dedicated luggage racks for both first and economy class passengers. Now, as I've covered before on the Embraer 175, the United Express seats aren't the best in terms of comfort. I find them to be rock solid and not fun to endure for more than 2 hours. Though you can see in this clip just how much space there is left over by having just 50 seats in this airframe. This is only for the left side though, as the lavatory bulkhead takes up that space on my side. But it does make me wonder, why couldn't they just use that extra space to make the entire left side of the plane Economy Plus and leave the entire right side as regular economy? In any case, while the CRJ550 is touted as having more space overall, the standard economy seats are just like the rest of the fleet, but that's perfectly fine for this 30-minute flight. I also really appreciate the presence of both USB-A and C ports, and also the fact that each passenger gets their own set, not having to share with their neighbor. And most of the seats do recline, except for 17C and D because of the bulkhead directly behind.
On the forward right side, and 2 window exits. Please take a moment to find the nearest exit to you, as well as an alternate exit. All exits are identified with red and white exits.
Another perk of the CRJ550 compared to the 700 is that it only needs 1 flight attendant instead of 2, thereby reducing labor costs. That's because, at least in the US, the Federal Aviation Administration mandates 1 flight attendant for every 50 passenger seats. From my experiences, the regional flights always seem to have the coolest flight attendants, and this morning Mr. Darius was no exception. He was super efficient, offering a full snack service to the cabin as well as a separate water service. And as soon as the snack service concluded, we were already on descent into Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago, where the local time currently is 7:06 a.m.
The luggage racks on the 550 are probably my favorite part as an economy class passenger. They eliminate the need to gate check larger roller bag suitcases, which is a nuisance you normally encounter on the CRJ200 and Embraer 145s because the overhead bins are so small. Then, waiting for the bags to be offloaded when you deplane adds even more stress, especially if you're on tight connections, which was exactly the case with me last year. But that was a wonderful first flight on the CRJ550, and now I'm off to Concourse C to catch a United 757 over to Newark, which will be a separate feature video. For now, let's fast forward to 1 week later. And after arriving from Newark on the A321neo, I'm now reaching gate F25 for the final flight of this trip back to Peoria. I didn't realize until making this video, but United Express only has 30 CRJ200s remaining in its fleet, all operated by SkyWest. The number of United CRJ550s currently stands at 80 aircraft, with 54 operated by GoJet Airlines and 26 by SkyWest, with a further 24 on order. That's really exciting news for United Express customers living in communities that are served by the 50-seat aircraft, as they'll benefit greatly from the CRJ550's enhanced experience. For this flight back to Peoria, I'm in seat 16D with nothing really different from before. Now, besides the CRJ550's many perks, it is unfortunately still a CRJ, so misaligned windows are a harsh reality. Now, I'm sure many of you have heard of the ongoing tussles between United and American Airlines as the two aggressively compete for dominance here in Chicago. United has and continues to remain the dominant airline at O'Hare, and recently announced that this coming summer will be its largest ever from the airport. The biggest takeaway from this announcement, in my opinion, is the addition of 5 new Midwestern cities to the United Express route map. Beginning this spring 2026, in direct competition to already existing American Eagle services, United Express will begin flights to Lansing and Kalamazoo, Michigan, La Crosse, Wisconsin, and my personal favorites, Bloomington Normal and Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. United remains my airline of choice for domestic travel, and I can't describe how excited I am to see them back in Champaign. I paid $318 for my round-trip ticket between Peoria and Newark, which, when factoring in convenience and free parking, is a fantastic deal compared to flying out of Chicago. So overall, the CRJ550 is a great offering when it comes to regional jets, and it's great to see Delta Connection also beginning to operate its own examples out of Detroit and Minneapolis. I forgot to mention that United's 550 features onboard Starlink Wi-Fi, but for some reason I couldn't get it to work on this flight. Now, as for all of the hype surrounding the CRJ550, yes, it's a great regional jet, but if you're flying in economy, don't expect much because it's really nothing extraordinary. However, with features like individual power outlets, luggage racks, and Starlink, it is definitely one of the nicest regional jets in the skies today. I am very excited to see this aircraft become a mainstay across United Express's regional network. While the remaining CRJ200s will stick around for a while longer, the 550s have already replaced them on many routes. But at least for intra-Illinois services, including the upcoming routes to Bloomington and Champaign, we will see a mix of CRJ200s and 550s. And welcome back to Peoria, where it's now time to head back to my car and begin the hour or so drive back home. I am really glad that once United begins service back to Champaign later this spring, I won't have to come out here to Peoria just to fly United. Yes, Decatur has always been an option too, but that airport is extremely limited in flight options and in many cases doesn't offer very convenient itineraries. In any case, with a growing network supported by fantastic jets like the CRJ550, I am very excited for the future of United Express, especially here in Illinois, and on that note, I hope they resume flights to Springfield soon as well. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me today, and if you have any thoughts on the CRJ550, leave me a comment below. With that said, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and until next time, take care, and see you very soon.